Uh, Back again for really part 3. Don't you understand? In the rabbit hole we'll see. Going a little deeper with Micah Dank. And I want you to know this is not a think tank. These are lyrical bars that give you mental scars. I want you to know who the F we are. Tonight you're going to get things revealed. A little bit more truth, and it's more than a meal. The lyrical real deal. You know it's so real. Astrology going down the rabbit hole for real. He's the Astro-Theologist C and a real good author, so check him out, B. Tonight on the podcast, come with your questions. Mentally, what do you suggestion? Maybe you'll get the answer. Don't you understand? It's more than just Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, or Libra too. He's going to break down the cardinal signs for the church for you. Yeah, man. Now I think I'm done. Lyrically on the mic, you know the E's #1. So let's do what we do. It's time to start the show, and here we are for you. Ooh, ooh! Knowledge. What's up, y'all? It's Eric Taylor, BigEAstro Astrology, back with another amazing episode of my Knowledge is Love Astrology podcast. And tonight I have my returning guest on episode 374. He's an Astro-Theologist, author of an amazing book series. We're going to talk about it. I welcome back to the show, Micah Dank. How are you tonight, my brother?
It'd be a lot better if that little rap played everywhere I walked.
I like that. Well, if you remember, I'm going to get you sucker, right? Keenan Ivory Wayans and KRS-One, he goes, every superhero needs his theme music. You know what I'm saying?
That KRS-One?
Yeah, well, KRS-One was in the movie, and Keenan Ivory Wayans said that, and I'm in the movie, I'm going to get you sucker. And so KRS-One was like the theme music when he was walking. So
I love KRS-One. I think he's one of the most brilliant people. He reminds me a lot of there's a couple others that I really like to listen to. I loved Prodigy before he died.
Oh, and Prodigy was getting.
I haven't watched him in a while, but I was hooked on Professor Griff for a while too.
Oh, look at you. Okay. Yeah, well, oh my God, that's funny. My wife knows Professor Griff, and Chuck D used to babysit her. So we go deep over here with the hip hop. But, you know, I love the teaching aspect of KRS-One. That's why he's my favorite MC. And I've met him a few times, and my dream is to get him on the podcast. But I got you tonight. And for everybody in the chat, we will get to your questions. So if you have questions already for Micah, have them come, because Micah's ready to answer it. So, you know, obviously we had the 2 episodes last week when you were on, and you really, you know, shared a very powerful presentation and really took us down the rabbit hole. But explain to people the actual book series and sort of just the different topics you touch on. And then we'll lead you with some questions with that. So that way,
sure. Hold on a second.
I think he's getting the book.
I finally have my own set of my own books. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
All right. So all this stuff that I've been talking about for the last week or 2, it's all in the book series, and even further than that. I go into hidden knowledge amongst a million different things. This book right here is my first book, Beneath the Veil. It's called the Into the Rabbit Hole series. If you guys reach out to me, I do sell signed sets. I also have digital or audio books that I sell directly because Amazon and Audible are choking me to death. So I started pushing them myself. I had the audiobooks converted myself, and they were read. And I sell either of those 3. So the physical books, it's 8 books, and the total price is $200. And my digital and audiobooks are $100 for the set. But the thing about the digital and the audiobooks is when you get the digital or the audiobooks, they come unlocked. So you're able to actually send it to as many people as you want. So you buy 1 and then you could send it to 15. I don't care. I just want to spread this.
Okay.
Book 1 is mainly, the purpose of it is to talk about MK Ultra and what it is. Book 2, as you can see here, is the Sacred Stones. It's the pyramids and ancient Egyptian technology. And also, I explain how Islam got started here.
Right, by the Catholic Church, yeah.
Yeah, I explain the whole story.
Wow.
Book 3 is the Knights Templar versus the Rosicrucians.
Okay.
Book 4 is Pangea's Pandemic, which came out right there during that time period.
Wow.
Book 5 is The Hidden Archives. This has to do with the Library of Alexandria being moved.
Is
Book
a
6
lot of
is The
that
Final
information in the Vatican now?
In the basement, yeah. A lot of it is, yes. But it's also like there's a Tibetan scroll library with 880,000 scrolls in it that we haven't even gone through. It's like the history of the planet, basically. This is the final type. This has to do with the Bohemian Grove and the Pindar, or what the
That's book
Pindar is.
6, correct?
If you know what this is, yeah. Book 7 is you see the Kaaba here. This is what happens when you take some of the stone in the meteorite from the Kaaba, and you can transmute it into gold. What would happen to the world's markets alchemically? Book 8 is Nail in the Coffin. This is Tesla tech. This is, it's Tesla tech, basically. And those are my 8 books that I have. I also, hold on.
And he's working on a 9th, you guys.
Yeah, well, I'm literally just about done with that. I just need like 4 days. I also have a kid's book. It's called A is for Aries. And it teaches kids the signs and everything.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay, some of my listeners have kids that they, trying to keep them spiritually aware. How much do you sell that one for? That's really cool.
I think 20.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not.
They can email you.
Me.
Everything's in the description down below, but tell them your email. So if they want the kids' book and even the digital stuff, they can go directly to you. Or you go through your website, right?
Yeah, it's debunkmywork.com, and then you go to the bottom of the page, and there's all the emails. There's a way to email me. There's all the links. If you want to get them through me, obviously, I appreciate that. But if people just want to get them, you can obviously get them from Amazon. Now, as far as the Audible books, Audible only contracted me for 2 books, and they're kind of holding me in place right now. So I said, fuck them, and I'm going to go get my own done. And I did. Jennifer Sweet says, "Hey, Eric and Mr. Micah Dank, the legend." Hi, Jen. It's so long since I've done like a live Q&A on.
Yeah, man, it's good. We could see if anybody has any questions, you can jump right in and read it and answer them. I think for me though, Micah, the first thing that I kind of want to tap into, is sort of this whole concept of religion in terms of how it was started and separating the people and kind of, which tablet or text in your research was kind of like maybe the original. Is it the Egyptian Book of the Dead?
No, it goes way back further. It goes back further than Gilgamesh. I mean,
we've heard some
people talk about the Bach Saga. I don't know if you've ever gotten into that. The Bach Saga.
I've never heard that
one. Ancient Nordic pagan origins. I mean, the Astro-Theology is just through the holy text of 6,000 years, but to say there's like a text that came from it all, I don't believe so, no. But I do know this. Okay. I do know that they just keep retelling the same exact story in different ways, with different characters, with different names, with different mentions of the zodiac. They just keep mixing it up, and I haven't seen anybody put that together yet. The 6,000 years.
Yeah. So then let me ask you this, because a lot of people, a lot of different information's coming out nowadays, and a lot of people are awakening to different things. And one of them is that the Mississippi River is the real Nile, that the Americas is
That's what
really
they
the
say. You have Memphis in Tennessee. You have
ancient land. Yeah. So what are your
ancient
thoughts on that?
ancient Egypt in the Grand Canyon, and they do close off a lot of the Grand Canyon that
Yeah.
hides that from people.
And they recently just had big fires there too.
Mm-hmm. There's behind the Mount Rushmore, there is a cave system.
Mm.
And in that cave system, a company owns it. And they use it as storage for files, documents, and everything.
Wow.
And it's just...
In the cave system in Mount Rushmore? Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so for Jennifer Sweet, I do miss your channel on YouTube. Jen, find me on social media, and we can chat that way. And I do miss my YouTube channel, but I don't miss YouTube. Okay, he says, how do you define astrotheology in simple terms for someone new to it?
Mm.
I would start by saying, let's start with the Bible. Jesus is an anthropomorphic astrological allegory of the sun going through the 12 signs of the zodiac and making up the stories as it goes along to teach you all the necessary information you need to know so that you know when to plant, harvest, survive.
So really like a farmer's almanac, right? That's what we talked about in the first.
Exactly what it is. It's a farmer's almanac. It's exactly what it is. The only problem is people are taking it literally. And as long as people continue to do that, we're going to keep having problems in the world. And that starts with the Judeo-Christian problems. Egypt had it right. They had it right for so long. They had two separate sun gods. That's how long Egypt lasted. And then...
But what are your thoughts about the patriarchal system in terms of really taking away the concept of the goddess?
Well, the patriarchal system was started by the Jews. And that is probably the biggest reason that you should hate them. And I was raised Jewish. And I'm saying that with no regrets whatsoever. The Egyptians had this. The Egyptians worshipped the goddess.
Yeah.
Women were the original on this planet. It was not man. Man does not come from woman. Woman does not come from man. Man comes from woman.
Exactly.
Period. If you look into something called parthenogenesis, you'll find out that women used to be able to make sperm in their bone marrow, and they are just relearning it now. You can Google this, and they'll probably give you a lot of disinformation if you Google it, of course.
Maybe you got to go to Brave.
If you got to go to Brave, Brave is the only thing that I know hasn't been touched yet. But that's because no one uses it. Women used to self-replicate. And when they self-replicated, of course, it would only be a woman because they only had the woman's DNA, right? So they would just keep reproducing women after women after women after women. The Y chromosome, the male Y chromosome, if you've ever looked at it, is like 20% the size of the X chromosome. There have been plenty of studies that said that the genes that we need to survive come from the X chromosome, not so much from the Y chromosome. The Y chromosome is disappearing. That's why they're not talking about it, but that's why you're getting a lot of transhumanist stuff talking about right now, merging with machines, this and that, because it's not a sustainable model. And they're also trying to depopulate us. Everything goes into depopulation. That's why no one can afford anything right now.
Well, that's old boy, right? Peter Thiel and Elon and them. It's
right. JD Vance. Yeah. People they just. The problem is that politicians are so out for themselves and so selfish that when one of them even remotely looks like it has a personality, they try and throw it out in front of everyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the problem. What first inspired you to look at the Bible through astrology? I'm not the only one that teaches this stuff, but I am probably the easiest to understand. And that's on purpose, is because I've been doing this for a long time. I just started matching keywords up from the zodiac and the 48 constellations that Ptolemy talked about in 150 AD, and just started seeing patterns and finding patterns. And then I continued to do it as I went through the whole. I went through the whole Bible. And then my friend Rex Bear from Leak Project was like, try Sumerian Tablet or try this book or try this book. And it just evolved into all this. And all this stuff you could find on my website, debunkmywork.com.
So, was there one book that had more astrology encoded in it than any others?
The Sumerian tablets, the five I've done 7 or 8, but I only put 5 in the presentation. I don't know why I did that, but I guess 5 is enough examples for one civilization. But what the patterns were more pronounced in the earlier ages. So going back to what I was talking about real quick, the Y chromosome is unsustainable. So what happens is the Egyptians had it. The Egyptians would venerate the women. And then the Jews come along and they write their Old Testament saying that they are the chosen one. They're the chosen ones in the book that they wrote. And the first thing they did after Genesis, after the creation, was basically doom women for all eternity for eating the fruit. And they never mention what fruit it is. Some people say it's a fig because it goes back to Buddha. Some people say it's an apple. It's irrelevant. And then you got the people out there that are doing this. Well, the apple really represents, those real thinkers, right? The apple represents the soul being fought against, and then just like, okay, I get it, but how do you prove that? It sounds nice, but show me consistent patterns. Show me proof as to why that's real. I have 2 mentors, Santos Bonocci, who I don't really talk to as much anymore.
And that's who I was talking to you about, and I saw you on Santos.
Yeah, I taught at his syncretism school a couple of years back, or I don't even remember how long it was ago now, maybe 2 years back. I taught at his syncretism school, and Jordan Maxwell, who has passed away, became really good friends with, and I just studied their work, and then I just built on their work. There's not a lot of
both of them are brilliant. I mean, Santos is he's deep.
Temptress the Enchantress says any beliefs in Lilith. How much time do you have? Lilith, for those of you who don't know, was Adam, his original wife. God made Lilith for Adam. Lilith, because the Jews had the patriarchy thing going on, Lilith was kicked out of the Garden of Eden because she wouldn't submit to Adam. And what does that mean, to submit? Well, for this particular circumstance, submitting to Adam meant she would lie under him during missionary position, and she refused to do that. So God threw her out, and she became the queen of demons. And even to this day, in a lot of covens out there, they venerate Lilith. They do. They'll put her sigil on things, and bad things happen to people when they do that. Sigil magic is a very real thing, by the way. Sigil magic is
people have to be careful.
I saw a video of a lady, and I think my wife still has this video. A lady drew a sigil on the sand right by the waves, and the water stopped coming up to it for like minutes and minutes and minutes. And then when she got rid of it, it came back up. Sigil magic is very real. But they venerate Lilith, yes. I mean, you hear about Lilith in modern day things like Lilith Fair, for example, the lesbian get-together. Why would they choose the name Lilith for that? It's interesting, right? No, she's supposedly the mother of demons.
See, and the way that I look at it in astrology, I sort of eliminate all that. It's more the pre-verbal, pre-rational, pheromones, hormones, that primal, carnal, divine, and dark feminine energy. That whole demon thing, I think that's just from the patriarchal system hating, you know what I mean? It's it's kind of. So I'm really curious though, and fascinated about 2 things. I want to get back to Alexandria, and then we'll get to MK Ultra. But with the Book of Alexandria, was, from your knowledge, was a lot of the material destroyed, or was everything taken out before it was destroyed to
It
kind
was
of
moved.
confuse
It
people?
was moved. It was like what they did with 9/11. They just put up a big, sloppy destruction narrative around it, and then people started poking holes in it, and then they just shut them up, basically. Now, in my 5th book, I take liberties as to where I say the Library of Alexandria is. But at the end of the day, there's, 50 miles of tunnels under the Vatican?
And they have the Black Madonna there. They've got all the ancient artifacts, right? I mean, a lot of people don't know this, Micah. And one of your thoughts on this, like, even for us going to Iraq, a lot of that was for the ancient artifacts, and supposedly Saddam had the Nephilim, correct?
Yeah, that was released in the Wikipedia. That was released in WikiLeaks.
WikiLeaks, yeah, exactly.
Hillary Clinton's email.
Right,
And
but a lot of people may
where
not.
they found Gilgamesh, and they found him. He was an 11-foot tomb because he was a big dude, and I don't know what happened
Big
to him.
dude or giant? Because giants are real, right?
He's a giant. Jennifer says, I don't know how long the avocado has been around, but it's the only fruit that takes 9 months to completely ripe and is shaped like a pregnant female. I always thought that was unique. It's true. Also, Jennifer, if you're ever found that you're lost on an island and you can only bring one thing with you, you can survive on just avocados because of how much nutrients it has in it, and just such a variety of nutrients too.
Yeah.
You can literally survive. I mean, like anything else, right? You'll get scurvy or whatever. But if you were to just eat avocados, you can survive for years and years just on avocados. They're
Because it's a fruit.
completely
So
healthy
people don't
fat.
realize it's a fruit.
They're a completely healthy fat, and no one tells you to eat that. But what they do is they shove the food pyramid in your face that has bread as 6 to 11 servings at the bottom. Eat 11 servings of bread and then tell me what happens to your heart. Like the fact that the food pyramid exists just shows me people are not fucking serious. I always love that. And then every time they show you some like fat fucking person who's like the minister of health, like I love that shit. Like, really? You look like hot garbage. Like, really? I hate that shit.
No, we're at a point, Micah, where I think, as we talked about, right, on especially I think more so in the second episode, as we are kind of closing that door and chapter of the Piscean age and slowly moving to the age of Aquarius, people are seeing but getting so tired of the BS and the lies and the deception and the lie on top of truth, right? I tell people the fact that someone can call you and I or anybody a conspiracy theorist, it's like, who fed you that spell,
Right.
that terminology?
Oh, it's even further than that. I'm completely for vigilante justice. I'm completely for that. I think that's the only way things get changed. I'm not saying we need Batman. I'm just saying is that, when a CEO of a health company that AutoPen denies people gets shot and killed, I don't feel bad.
Well, I think you saw from the collective the response, right? I mean, and I think it was very interesting what they did with the cover up with the whole thing, making it seem like it was the NFL when it was the CEO of Blackstone with the real estate, especially this guy being from Vegas and a lot of homes in Vegas, people couldn't buy stuff. So humanity is awakening at such a rate, but also talk to people. What are your thoughts on kind of really what's happening with the X class and M class solar flares and our ascension to our literal DNA of the planet, Gaia, Mother Earth, and to the cells in our body?
Oh, wow. To be honest with you, I haven't really looked into solar flares too much. I know the sun is localized. It's not 93 million miles away.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
That just doesn't make any sense. The problem is that they don't want you to, when they say a light year, they keep saying light year so you can visualize it, like 15 light years. Oh, okay, that's a number that I can work with. No, it's not, because if you do the math, a light year is 6.6 trillion miles. So what happens is, and I've always said this, the bigger the lie, the more people will believe it. So you make it really big.
Yeah.
Like a man came from a virgin that an angel whispered into her ear and she became pregnant. And then people believe that. C says, what's the most surprising discovery you've made in your research? Is that it's so constantly through everything. If you've watched the last presentation, you'll see that it was through 6,000 years. It's through everything, at least Western, Northern Hemisphere, Western works. And the Bible touched by the East. Abraham and Sarah is just Brahma and Saraswati, amongst other things. Let me see what else we got here. Temptress says, thank you. After finding out about Lilith, I can never fully believe in the Bible. Well, you're not supposed to fully believe in the Bible or trust it. You're supposed to read it with the lens that you're looking through it with. There's many different holy sciences. If you turn the lens, it's like taking a pair of glasses off and then putting a new one on that lets you see different. There's different layers to this, and I made that abundantly clear at the beginning. I said, I'm giving you guys a slice of one science. That's it. And I did 5 hours. Just a slice off one science.
So, but what about like in terms of like the Buddhists and the Hindu and their books? Like,
I've never gotten into the East because there's still so much to do in the West to break down. I'm still doing the Apocrypha. I'm still doing the Ethiopian Bible. I've got the Colburn Bible right here, just collecting dust. I gotta get back to that stuff and start updating my website and start going live on my Rumble. And okay, I have a question. Are there really 7-foot-tall African-American aliens coming to Earth in October? This is per NASA. Oh Lord.
That's been the latest.
7-foot-tall black aliens coming to Earth in October, just in time for Halloween, probably, right?
Well, the one thing I will say
is garbage. NASA is just garbage.
Well, doesn't it mean in Hebrew to deceive, right?
I'd have to look into that.
Yeah.
I don't recall off the top of my head, but I'm sure if you say it probably does.
I mean, that's the one thing that people have been talking about. So, I mean, listen, we all know like the moon landing was fake and they were in competition in Russia, and maybe Stanley Kubrick was the one who filmed it, who I think he maybe admitted to that as he was, getting closer to dying. But he kind of died not too soon after Eyes Wide Shut, which was revealing a lot of things, right? I mean,
well, actually, the movie Eyes Wide Shut was supposed to be about an elite pedophile group. The version that you saw in the movie theaters or that you see on DVD or streaming live is not the version he put out. In the version that he put out, at the end of the movie, Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman sell their child to this elite pedophile cult.
Wow.
And they got rid of the whole thing. The Mama Mist.
Yeah, Mama Mist.
People don't realize that hatred towards big people, especially women, comes from patriarchy, colonization, and anti-creator creation energy. I don't even know how to answer that.
Well, let's go back into the early part of the rabbit hole. MK Ultra. A lot of this, from want to know, was this from a lot of the Nazi scientists who went to Germany, America, Argentina, and Israel, that they never really were killed or really jailed? They just kind of transitioned.
No, they moved them to Argentina.
Okay.
They moved them to Argentina.
Well, some came to our government too, right?
Like, what's his name? Javier Milei? Right?
Yeah.
Their ruler right now, Milei, released information showing that the Nazis were indeed, including Hitler, moved to, and everybody in Argentina knows this. It's just that they keep it quiet over here. Hello, Big E, Micah, and YouTube family from Tennessee. Also, look up the orange of the word overshadow. Only a physical being can overshadow you. Okay, overshadowed. Hmm. Interesting. I wouldn't believe anything NASA has to say, CC.
Yeah.
Ever. They always talk about aliens every time there's something that they just can't shake out of the news, like a new pedophile drops or something like that. You know what I mean? Every time something new comes out or like the tension gets boiled, they try to change your direction with a distraction. The more, okay, like a person, an individual is pretty intelligent. You can have a decent conversation with one person. The more people you add to the other side, the more and more the other side grows. The collective IQ drops. That's why things are reduced to half the country voting this way, half the country voting this way, to slogans. Because a slogan is the smallest bit of information you can relay that can group people together. I can't have this conversation with you in front of 20,000 people.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah. So, but that's what I want to get to, though. Were the Nazi scientists, were they really the ones that helped to start MK Ultra here with the CIA?
I think it was the CIA. I don't know if it was the Nazi scientists, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I know the MK Ultra has been done for a very, very long time. And I feel bad for the Disney kids that go through it.
Yeah.
But their parents, it's always the parents when the kids are that age. Parents will do anything to make their kids, they want to live through their kid. Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, is always the same time period as Halloween. That's because on Halloween, it's the day that the earth gets, the
veil is very thin.
The veil is very thin. So if I, okay.
Because we just left Libra season and went into Scorpio
So
season.
you have the solstices and the equinox. They form the cross. But if you were to take cross quarter days and split that, okay, so solstices and equinoxes, they divide the zodiac in half. If you were to split that again in half, those are called cross quarter days. Halloween is one of them. May 1st, May Day is another one.
Yes.
And the other two are different holidays that we don't celebrate here. But they are very important days. Halloween is the day that the veil is the thinnest, right?
Yeah.
Even the Christian parents will tell you, don't go out trick-or-treating or there's a full moon. You know, the Christians don't believe in astrology, but they'll keep their kids home on a full moon.
Well, listen, I don't like Halloween for the candy, right? Right before the weather's changing and getting colder, you weaken their immune system with a bunch of sugar. That's just to get them to the dentist and to the doctor.
It's better idea, right? Also, with all that candy, they're always like, remember to check your kids' candy because people are putting marijuana edibles in there, and you really should check it. There's nobody that does edibles that is giving them away to a 9-year-old for free.
That's comedy in itself, right? That's really funny. So, but I want to ask you, how deep do you think the MK Ultra does? Forget just the Disney kids. What about high-ranking officials? Obviously, the big.
What they do first is they sensory, and I explain the MK Ultra process in my first book. But what they do is they sensory deprive you. They keep you in like a barrel full of water, 55-gallon drum full barrel full of water, so that you're disoriented. Then what they do is they'll put you through extreme pain, like they'll rip your fingernails off, and they just keep abusing you. And then what happens is at a certain point of lack of sleep in this is you're either going to die or your brain fractures and creates another personality usually a stronger one. That's why every TV show, Criminal Minds, any of those kind of shows over there, they always show you that when someone's split personality comes out, it's always a stronger one that's protecting the weaker one. The weaker one is the actual person. What are your thoughts around there being 13 zodiac signs and 13 months originally? Well, it was 13 months originally. It was 13 at 28 plus 1 day for the new year.
Yeah, that's the moon cycle. That's the turtle. Look at the turtle.
Yeah, that's the turtle. That's the moon cycle. Absolutely. The 13th zodiac sign, Ophiuchus, that is sidereal astrology or Vedic astrology.
But even a lot of them don't use it, though, Micah. That's what's interesting. It's not really, they don't really.
Ophiuchus is not a big constellation.
Yeah.
And you're talking about whole sign here. Yeah. So, Virgo's a month and a half long, Scorpio's 6 days. What is Ophiuchus, like 12 or something like that? It's not a lot of time. So the size is not that big. So obviously it wouldn't be used that often. The 13 zodiac signs, they're sometimes Serpens is the snake in Ophiuchus.
Yep.
And it I think the sun doesn't the sun doesn't go over it during the ecliptic, right? I think that's the thing about Ophiuchus.
I think that's why it's kind of like explained that people still deal with the 12 houses and the 12 signs,
right.
And don't really use it. One day in the future, it may get brought in and used, but I don't know.
Right.
But it is connected, right? Obviously, with the serpent and like the Kundalini energy, correct?
Yeah. That's the caduceus or the rod of Asclepius. It's the same thing. It's Moses putting the serpent on the staff. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I have a video of my brother when I'm talking to him on video during the Day of the Dead. He's not alive anymore, and I see him play his day, Green Orb, Jennifer. That's wild. But that's what I mean is like when you know that kind of stuff is real and exists, do you really care about propaganda? Like, are we really caring about what Dylan Mulvaney is doing with his hair this week? Like, do we really need to understand this stuff?
Well, that's the whole thing, right? The distractions. When you've experienced certain things, and I actually want to get to the next thing because I'm coming up on the anniversary, September 6th, 4 years ago, when I fell into coma for 40 days and I had my NDE, and I was on the other side. And, even years ago, growing up as a child, right, I have Uranus and Libra in the 12th house, and I've always had visions and dreams of the future. I dreamt about 9/11 2 years before it happened. I dreamt about my wife before I met her. When I was in relationships with ladies, I would actually see them when they weren't with me. And so I wanted to ask you, what in your research and in your book, what was your experience going down the rabbit hole of near-death experiences?
They all have very similar stories. Near-death experiences have very similar stories.
Well, remember, 8 to 10% of them are the distress or dark ones, and not unfortunate. It is what it is, right? But I didn't have the love and light and seeing God or Jesus. I had a dark one, very dark.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it reminds me of the story of Pam Reynolds. I don't know if you've ever. No, you've never heard of her?
No.
Pam Reynolds was a woman. She's the most documented near-death experiencer on the planet. She was a musician, and she was from the South, like Kentucky or something, or Alabama or Georgia, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a near-death experience. Basically, what happened was she had a ganglioma on her brainstem, which is basically a very invasive cancerous tumor on her brainstem.
Right.
And they couldn't just operate on her and cut it out because it would cut the blood supply and then she would bleed out through the hole in the back.
Wow.
So they had to come up with something. So what are they going to do? They took this lady and they ran her, they put her in an ice bath and they brought her body temperature down to 60 degrees. And then what they did was while she was under, they drained the blood to her head so it wouldn't squirt out anywhere. And then they cut the tumor out. And then they restarted the blood, warmed her back up, and brought her back.
Wow.
When she woke up, She explained to them what devices they were using to cut her, what it looked like. She said she floated out of her body and went to her ceiling. Now, she was under complete doctor supervision this entire time. She was under complete medical supervision.
Yeah.
She was flying above the body.
Oh, the soul remote views.
Right.
You know, I mean, I from coma, I astral traveled from the hospital to my home. After in coma, I died 3 times, and I saw one of my twin sons, and he saw me, and he came over and gave me a hug. And I was able to tell my wife, she had a friend of ours and a business associate over at the house, and I was able to tell her that she was there. How would I know that? Because I was there, and my son.
Yeah, but you weren't under medical supervision.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was in the hospital the whole time in coma. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was on the vent the whole 9. Yeah. And I traveled to my home, saw my wife, our friend, and one of my sons.
Mm-hmm.
And my son saw me, which is really deep.
Nice.
He's a very spiritual guy.
You got lucky.
Oh, they gave me the Ren, I don't want to say it, whatever, but 9 days, and on the 9th day I went out. They watched me literally, Micah, get to 10% function of one lung. My neighbor, when I awakened, they induced coma for him. Sweetheart of a guy, I love him to death, Yugoslavian guy from New Jersey, but they watched me and just let me go. You know what I mean? And then called my wife in a panic on September 6th. Mrs. Taylor, your husband's organs are failing. Death is imminent. We'll call you back in an hour. Click.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm a walking miracle. But I'm just curious because see that what you described, that reminds me of the TV series that I saw after I came home. Have you ever heard of the OA? With that doctor who was running experiments on people, and he would bring them to death and then monitor them and hook up their brains, and then he'd bring them back to life. But he wanted to be able to see almost like a remote view and find out what they were experiencing on the other side.
Yeah, that was a movie that came out called The Flatliners with Keith.
Yeah, well, I remember that movie. Yeah, Flatliners was deep. Yeah,
it's the same thing basically.
Yeah. Well, the OA is a really good series was on Netflix. They did I think it was 2 seasons or whatever. So okay, I want to ask you this because this is kind of maybe a touchy subject and certain things you can say and you can't. But in general, in the beginning, what was it, or where or how were you invited? Because I know you have to be invited to become a Mason. And at what degree do people realize what they're in? Because you said you were a 32nd degree Mason, but there's tons of Masons in churches, whether it's the Scottish Irish or the Black Freemasons, all this stuff, and they don't think they're doing something bad because it's through the church. So what degree does it switch? And how
I was doing a podcast, and I was doing a podcast, and I got a message on social media by one of them, this guy Dan, who I'm still friendly with, somewhat. We don't really talk a lot, but still. And he invited me to apply, and I was like, I didn't really think about it, but then I was like, my work, maybe I could show it to them, maybe they could boost it, Manly P. Hall, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, all right, so I started doing that. It was a disaster. When I finally was able to present my work, it started a 5-hour fight in the lodge. And then when I finally presented my work to the Grand Lodge in New York City, remote like this, like we're doing now because of COVID, it went up onto the digital library and then it was taken down. And when it was taken down, I found out they said it was too risky for the fraternity's reputation and too revealing of the signs. And when they told me that, I left. I just left. Now, I've never seen anything in Masonry that would lead me to believe there's anything negative up there. But then again, I was 32. So I don't know, number one. Number two, from what I saw, it's just a bunch of people that get together. I thought they were going to be a lot more esoteric than they were. Some of them were. I mean, maybe if you like picked out a group of random people and picked a group of the Masons, maybe the Masons are a little more esoteric than the average person, but not to the level I was looking for. And
So when you say looking for, were you searching for something deeper or just a deeper truth that you thought that the Masons would provide for you?
I mean, the truth of the matter is, we were talking about KRS-One earlier. He does a video where he talks about Jordan Maxwell, and he talked about Masonry and the Illuminati. I don't know if you've ever seen that video, but the Masonry part, he was basically saying it's basically, as Solomon builds his temple, you should build yourself up. It was just, there's not really a lot of difference between Judaism and Masonry, from what I say, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah. Didn't they say that the Jews started Freemason or Masonry or no?
No, it started back in Egypt and even further back than that.
Okay.
But this modern day thing that we have right now is just a social club, from what I gather, from what I know.
Well, it's not in terms of legal matters, right? Because like some people say, I mean, if we're being honest, because Johnny Cochran and Judge Ito were both Masons, that right there could have been enough to get OJ off, right? If a Mason man grapes a woman, he can get off on charges if she's not an Eastern Star, right?
I've never heard of that. Truly, I've never heard of that, and I'm not defending them for any reason.
No.
I don't have any dog in that fight anymore. Even you're talking about OJ, right? You're talking about OJ's case. That was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Because they took my Knicks off the NBA Finals, so I could watch.
God. I'll never forget that night watching the Knicks. I was so upset.
Watching that stupid car chase, man. And that was 30 years ago. Masonry was different 30 years ago than it is now. Jennifer says, my mother is Pueblo and Mexican. My family can do and see things that others can't. I once told a doctor about it, and the ambulance showed and took me. I don't go to doctors anymore. True story. Jennifer, my wife is Mexican too. And her, and she's the same way.
People have a lot of spiritual gifts, but that's what I was trying to get at with you. I think,
they see it, they get scared, and they run back to religion.
Yeah, a lot of people do. But I think now we're in a different time. You see, as we're really feeling this energy of the age of Aquarius, people are starting to embrace, and there's more of a open platform, but there's still illusion, confusion, and deception in that, even in spirituality, right? We have these cults, and I don't know, they had some, I didn't watch it, but there was some stupid documentary about twin flame cult or whatever, and that's Saturn Pisces energy, right? And Saturn goes back into Pisces on September 1st. So you're going to start to see more conversations about spirituality, religion, the veil being thin, things like that. And, people are going to continue to have questions and probably even, seek you out more too, because, a lot of people are hungry for real truth, not the lies and fakes. So do you think we'll ever have like a real Hollywood again? Or
I don't think we ever did.
Well, yeah, we probably never did. I should have said that, right? But do you think that there ever will be an entertainment industry without all the perversion?
I don't think you can make it to that level of fame, fortune, just influence, without having demons that people can control.
Yeah. And I think that's hard for some people. They don't realize that nobody gets through and gets, to that high level, and they're not kind of sold their soul, or whatever you want to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you were an actor for a bit. What type of work did you do?
A lot of student films, a lot of extra work in movies.
Okay.
Just for a few years, and then I stopped it.
Yeah. And in that time period, though, did you notice or see, anything interesting that was kind of like, whoa, what's going on here?
Everyone is desperate for their next meal.
Yeah.
And when you think that you're they'll always put you in a room with 5 people that look better than you, that are stronger than you. That it's unbelievable the amount of people that want to do this and never going to make it.
Yeah. And that desperation gets people to do things that they would not normally do. You know what I mean? It's really, oh man, I had my fun. I got in, I got out, and I was, I'm part of Screen Actors Guild, but it's unfortunate because I do think that as far as entertainment and creativity, right, the purity of the art form, that's where I wish that we could just have that, and then people, and it is underground, right? People, you can appreciate underground rock, pop, reggae, hip hop, independent films, and just like that, because people are making and creating stuff all the time. You just have to search for it. In terms of things that are commercially released, that's not going to be. It's not going to be. So, what about all the presidents, right? Is it in terms of, except for, I think it's two were not Masons or two were not Skull and Bones, and I think only one is not related. Where does it all go back to? Because they said it's a bloodline in England. What did you see or
Well,
notice?
they don't talk about something called the pedigree collapse. Okay, what the pedigree collapse is basically this. I have 2 parents. I have 4 grandparents. I have 8 great-grandparents. You keep doubling it every generation back. By the time you get to the year 840 AD, you have 140 billion people. So how does that make any kind of sense? How's that even possible? What happens is it's called the pedigree collapse. It's basically a bottleneck funnel. What happens is, and I write this in my first book too. Excuse me. The pedigree collapse. What happens is there's a lot more incest than you think that there is. The furthest away that we can be from one another is 50th cousins. That's what they say, 50th cousins. That's what geneticists say.
Right.
But what basically happens is if your parents were both from the same town, there's a 20% chance that within 10 generations back they share a common ancestor. So now that is that aspect of it. But now apply to the fact that everyone is related to King Charlemagne, and if so, why?
Well, do you think that there's like alien or certain bloodline that they protect?
Well, the race is negative. The RH, I have RH negative blood. RH negative blood is not a human bloodline.
Right.
And I don't know much more about RH negative blood. I just know that like the way that the last few presidents have all been lefties or left-handed minus Donald Trump, and they all had RH negative blood. A lot of information out there, but I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't looked too far into that. Ilo Fry says, so hard to find real talk on these topics anymore. Hope to see a part 4 or more. Good stuff.
Yeah, I love it. So why don't you tell us about the real, I guess, construction or the real existence? What in your research are the pyramids really used for? Except for, we know energy conductors, anything else, because they surely weren't tuned.
They basically help you. They're transmutation devices. They're docks for ships. They're energy portals. I always tell this story. There was a dude in a southern state, excuse me, in like Alabama or something, and he had a farm. I think I mentioned this before. And he built a pyramid on his land, and he planted his crops throughout it and inside the pyramid too. And when it was harvest season, in Virgo. He went out and he went to the pyramid, and he found out that the stuff in the pyramid grew 4 times as fast as the stuff out there. So the idea that these were just giant places to hold grain is so stupid. I mean, that's what Ben Carson believes, right? The doctor, he's a Seventh-day Adventist. He separated twin babies attached at the brain, and he believes that the pyramids are where you store rice.
So with the Mason, what is the connection? Are there any connections with the Masons and Skull and Bones?
I've never really looked into it. I've never really studied up on the Masons, to be honest with you. I've never really gotten too deep into it, to be honest. I was just looking for people to share my work with, and I was like, all right, maybe these guys used to be esoteric. Maybe they still are. They're not really, but and they're gatekeepers, and I don't like that.
So we kind of talked about this, right? I mean, Micah, you guys is a Libra, Taurus moon, and Aquarius rising, but that Saturn Scorpio in the 10th house, have you noticed at different times in your life, or has it been since you kind of said you had your awakening that you've kind of always had to investigate the truth? Because Saturn Scorpio 10th house is exactly kind of like
that was just a big deal when I finally heard something in 2012 about the Bible that finally made sense to me. I dove in head first. Yeah.
Head first in terms of what? Like what? Just the connection to astrology, or just
the connection to astrology? Just studying it, and it just became my thing.
Now, what about the explain the difference for the audience in terms of the Torah and the Talmud? What is the actual difference?
The Torah is known as the Pentateuch, which is the 5 first books of the Torah, which is Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. That's the books of Moses. The Talmud is a collection of writings and interpretations of the Bible from Jewish sages, or whatever you want to call them, throughout the years. The Talmud is not biblical.
Okay. Because, everybody's talking about, the Goyim and the Goyim, and they see us as Goyim and all that stuff. It's like...
Well, Christianity is the only religion that I know of, at least, out there, where their own citizens are second-hand civilians to what they do. They literally say that they were grafted in. That's what they say. Just crazy to me.
Okay. You want to see, we have any more questions? Because some people may be curious about other books and stuff in terms of what you mentioned. And, well, go ahead. You want to see if we have anybody?
Temptress said, yes, our bodies are just cars from how they have explained it to me. Makes sense.
So, do you feel that the aliens are up out there, or just kind of extraterrestrial, like extra terrain beyond the ice wall, which is supposedly another 5 or 7 continents? What do you?
That's a great question. I think they're from the water.
Yeah. And right now, Uranus and Gemini is conjunct Sedna and Gemini, and Sedna is the energy of the godmother goddess energy coming up out of the oceans. And I think a lot is going to be revealed, even more of the mermaids, and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, hopefully one day.
So how or when or how do you think they got rid of Tartarian and giants? How long do you think
Well,
giants
the
are going to?
giants, they just keep destroying the bones. They keep going to the Smithsonian. They keep going in the basement, or they smash them and hide them, and that's that. Um, Tartaria, I recently shared something in a textbook from 1870. Tartaria had its own flag that they conveniently removed. The religious people, well, not the religious people will say that Tartaria is the 1,000-year millennial reign of Christ, and that we're in the aftermath. I don't know how I feel about that, but
Well, physically on our planet, was Tartaria more like in the area around China, or was it more in the Americas?
it was, I don't know. That's a good question. I haven't
Yeah,
gotten too deep into Tartaria, to be honest. It obviously existed.
yeah.
It clearly existed.
So, do you feel like something like free energy is something that we may get back to again?
I mean, they removed ether from the textbooks as soon as Nikola Tesla died, or right around that time.
What do you,
Um,
so what do you think about those theories, right? Because they got the book of Baron Trump's adventures, and
the
he was,
Ingersoll Lockwood, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that because John Trump supposedly went and got everything from Nikola Tesla's, so some people theorize that Trump himself may be a time traveler.
Uh,
That's a hard one for me. I'm like, come on,
yeah, yeah. I don't know about that,
yeah.
but did you want to do another part of this, like another interview at some point? Like we could just go into a bunch of other topics and see, because I've been trying to answer everybody's questions, but I do have to take off.
Yeah, no, definitely. We'll definitely do. We'll find another time. I think for me, I think it'll be more fascinating for you to talk about your newest book once you finish that and everything. But as we wind down, why don't you tell everybody, even if you want directly to give them the PayPal so that they can order the books from you directly, and obviously the website again.
Yeah, so the website is debunkmywork.com. What's probably easiest is if you go to debunkmywork.com, at the top, all my social media handles. So you could find me that way, shoot me a DM and let me know if you want to get the books, um, and which version of the books you want. Or you can go to my website and email me at the bottom of the page, debunkmywork.com. And yeah, that's it. And I'll talk to you about the books too. But if you guys are interested,
Yeah, no, I love that, man. So, just as we wind down, are you thinking or feeling anything about um, another sort of pandemics coming
oh,
this? I mean, some people feel because last time he was in office, he's in office again, but just, even them doing these different test runs of different things, obviously things going off with the mosquitoes, China, and all this stuff. I wonder if you have any thoughts on that.
I think that the stock market's going to crash. I've said that it was going to be in Libra because that's what the patterns show. When
So
there's a
this,
Republican, when there's a
yeah, this
Republican,
October, yeah.
when there's a Republican, or oh, excuse me, when there's a
They usually do
Republican,
it when Republicans are in office, right?
yeah. So there's that. I don't know if it'll happen though, but we'll see.
Well, don't you think something's coming because they want to do the switch over to the digital currency, right?
Yeah, but I mean, the truth is never as simple as just greed or anything. These are power structures. that they're keeping in line.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's hope for the best, man. I'm always, my mantra is faith over fear. And I think in general, people should stay positive and optimistic, attract the energy that they want to have towards them. And always, right, Virgo South Node, Pisces North Node till July 2026, we got to stay together on the health axis and
Exactly.
stay healthy, eat your fruit. As Micah said, get your avocado.
Exactly.
Get your avocado, watermelon, and cucumber. You'll be good. You don't need much else. So, but Micah, this was fun, man. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to. Do you have a tentative date for the release of the 9th book?
No, I don't, because it has to be edited, and then after it's edited, it has to go to them, and then they have to check all my pictures to make sure I'm not stealing them from someone, and there's just this huge thing going on. It takes forever to get a book out. I mean, anyone could just self-publish a book, but like if you're trying to do it the right way, or I shouldn't even say the right way. I don't mean
No,
that.
no. Listen, a lot of people do well nowadays going solo.
Yeah.
I'm on the verge of finishing up my first book, which is an astrology book, and then I've already started the early stages of writing my near-death experience book. So
Oh, that
I,
would be great.
I look forward to joining, and I'm in a documentary about the NDE stuff called Interdimensional, coming out this winter. So should be kind of fascinating. So Micah, and I'd like to see some of your books maybe turn into, like a movie, just like we had, was it the Dan Brown series or books?
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, man. Well, go ahead.
No, so thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. This was great, and I definitely look forward to doing this sometime again in the future. But I really appreciate your time, your insight, your knowledge, and you guys even go back and watch the first 2 episodes we did, because his presentation of 6,000 Years of Hidden Secrets, he really showed you how all the books were really about survival in the Farmer's Almanac based on the constellations of the zodiac, kind of telling that symbolic story of, how to plant, grow, and survive, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, man. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching episode 373, Knowledge is Love, Big E Astrology, Micah Dank. I'll see you Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern with Amy Robeson. All right. Thanks, Micah.
Take care.
All right.